In this week's parasha, Parashat Behukotai, we have ourselves the tochacha. We have ourselves the mini rebuke where HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us if you don't keep the mitzvot, if you abhor the mitzvot, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to punish us, and it gives a list of terrible onshim, terrible yisurin, different afflictions that we're going to get if we don't keep the Torah and the mitzvot. And as we mentioned in the previous recording, after each section of punishments, HaKadosh Baruch Hu closes off and says, and if you keep not listening to me, I'm going to punish you sheva al chatotechem. I'm going to punish you sevenfold, 7 times, based on your sin. And we spoke in the previous recording a little bit about a couple of ideas of what the number 7 symbolizes. So now I want to say a deep idea about the very end of the tochacha. We have a little bit of a nechama. We have a little bit of HaKadosh Baruch Hu consoling us, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, but don't worry, in the end it's going to be okay. Why? Bezacharti et beriti Yaakov, because I'm going to remember my covenant that I made with Yaakov. Ve'af et beriti Yitzhak, and I'm also going to remember my covenant that I made with Yitzhak. Ve'af et beriti Avraham eskor ve'aretz eskor, and I'm also going to remember my brit that I made with Avraham, and I'm also going to remember the land, and therefore Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to remember us and redeem us. Even after all the terrible punishments, we're going to have all these terrible things happening to us, the structures of the Beit HaMikdash, Galiyot, pain and suffering, but at the end of the day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to remember us, bischut the Avot, and bischut the land of Israel. And in the past, we give a couple of divrei Torah. You can PM me about why the order of Yaakov, Yitzhak, and Avraham. We're going to give a different interpretation today for that. Also, why does Yaakov have an extra letter Vav in his name, the mystical ideas behind the extra Vav in Yaakov's name. But I want to say over a cool idea that I saw in Sefer Pituchei Chotam. This is the Sefer of Rabbi Yaakov Abu Chatzera, alav shalom. This is the Abir Yaakov, I believe it's the grandfather of the Basali, in a deep Sefer called Pituchei Chotam, a little bit mystical over here, but I like it because we're not going to fully understand what he's writing, because we're not into Einlan Esek Bani studying. We don't really understand the deeper things, but I think it's cool to see a little bit of what he has to say on the surface level, so we realize the depth that's going on in the Ramazim that are happening on the mystical level in everything going on in the parasha. So he says, first off, in the section right before, he speaks about that we're talking about the Brit over here. Hashem's going to remember the Brit. So Brit is also a hint to the Brit Milah. So he says a little bit of the sin that's taking place over here is because we mess with the Brit Milah, and also he says that okay, fine. So he says, Hatam shekatav Yaakov bevav veikdimo. He says, okay, why is Yaakov spelled with a vav, and why do they write him first? Why is it first Yaakov, then Yitzhak, and then Avraham, and not normally we know Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov? Why do we start with Yaakov? We're going to skip his vav answer. It's a little bit too mystical for here, but let's go. Why was Yaakov mentioned first? V'hine tam la'akdama efshar limos dehine kol yisurin izkarin kan kol pam b'sheva makot me'achar shebagbu b'vad shem shim malchut shamayim. He says you should know everything over here. The number seems to be 7, and it says we're going to be hit with 7 makot. So we're going to be hit 7 times because we messed with this thing called the bat sheva. This is some kind of mystical idea for the malchut shamayim. You can see his previous sections. I saw other sources also hint that the sheva relates to bat sheva, which relates to malchut. Okay, beyond the scope of this recording. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, kevan shemevi kol yisorim, zocher brit avot umerachem. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because he sends this suffering to us when we sin, but ultimately he's going to zocher the brit. He's going to remember the covenant he made with our forefathers, umerachem, and he's going to have rachamim on us. He's going to have mercy on us. V'hine Yaakov yesh bo shiva havayot. This is unbelievable. He says the name Yaakov is Yud Kei Vav Kei times 7. So we're talking about 7 punishments, 7 makot, messing with this mystical idea called the bat sheva. Our previous recording, all but the number 7. So what do we have? Why does the rachamim come from Yaakov? Because Yaakov is gematria 7 times havaya. 7 times Yud Kei Vav Kei. Yud Kei Vav Kei is the name of Rachamim. Ulefichach hikdimo lirmos de bischut Yaakov shebo shiva havayot hu mechaper al ma shepagu b'vat sheva. Because therefore the zchut of Yaakov, who has 7 times Yud Kei Vav Kei, will be the kapara for messing with the bat sheva. Ve'ein losif aleim sheva makot kepam bepam rak yireh bischut Yaakov u'ma shevi dai mechaper alehem. And then therefore we don't have to add more. It's enough. And the Zechuyot of Yaakov will save us, mechaper on us. Okay, so that explains Yaakov. Okay, now what about Yitzhak? So it says the Pituchei Chotam, says Rabbi Buchatzera, ve'af et beriti Yitzhak, gam ken ba'u lirmoz up gam brit kodesh. Now it says Yitzhak, we know is going to hint to the brit kodesh. We mentioned that brit milah is in the background from over here, the brit, and Yitzhak is the first one to have brit milah, mishum, dehem pagmu milah shenitira lishmona. And because they messed with the milah, which was done on the 8th day, and remember, Yitzhak is the first person to have a brit milah at 8 days old, they messed with the brit milah, which symbolizes by the number 8, Yitzhak yesh bo shmona havayot, and the name Yitzhak is 8 times Yud Kei Vav Kei. Tavo shmona tachaper al shemona, and therefore the kapara Yitzhak, the first one to ever do a brit milah at 8 days old, is going to be a kapara with the 8 times Yud Kei Vav Kei, the 8 times rachamim. Okay, and if that's not enough, let's get to Avraham. Chazar ve'amar ve'af et beriti Avraham. And then it says, oh, and I'm also going to remember the brit of Avraham. Now, what Avraham we know is also the brit milah. He's the brit milah at a much older age, but he's the first one to bring the brit milah into the world. He's also going to make a tikkun with the number 8. Why? Mishum de Avraham yeshbo shemona el. He says that Avraham is the name Kel, Aleph and Lamed. That times 8 is Gematria Avraham. The El kulo chesed, and the name El symbolizes chesed. Kmo shechatuv chesed El kol hayom. The pasuk in Tehillim relates chesed to the name Kel. The kavana lo dai shtemel alem machamim harmuzot b'habayot ela gam inagim mahem b'chasadim betavo shmona el chasadim tchaper al kol mashavu milah shnitla lishmona bitnaheg imahem b'chasadim. Says okay beautifully. He says we have Yaakov, which brings us the Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is rachamim, which is mercy times 7, because the sevenfold punishments we're going to get for messing with the Bat Sheva. Awesome. Then we have ourselves Yitzhak. It's going to be 8 times Yud Kei Vav Kei, because he's going to make us rachamim for messing with the Brit Milah. But he says, Avraham, if rachamim is not enough, if mercy isn't going to work for us, maybe there's a different midah of chesed, maybe kindness. Maybe, mercy, there's a little bit of deen mixed with the rachamim as well. Maybe we need just straight up chesed. So that's the 8 times Kel, 8 times the other name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's going to be the name, the Zechuyot of Avraham. So we're going to have the koch of rachamim, both in the number 7 and in the number 8, as well as the chasadim in number 8 to protect us. And he says, and what about Va'aretz score? To let us know that Zechut of Yerushalayim will also bring a kapara for us for the Brit. Okay, and that is the Behukotai about the deeper levels involved in the Zechut that's taking place over. Again, PM me for other interpretations, a little bit more on the simple level for what the Zechuyot was of Yaakov, Yitzhak, and Avraham. But Baruch Hashem, even with the Tochacha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu ultimately will have both Rachamim and Chesed, B'ezrat Hashem. Shabbat Shalom.